if I say I want the population, which we currently have, to continue to replace itself inside of the United States, how's that like Hitler again?
I don't think she understands
She
what
misunderstood
you're
what
saying
you
at
meant.
all.
He meant like
this whole
replenishing
time.
the birth rate so that we're not decreasing in population over time.
Good luck.
Yeah. How's that like Hitler, though?
Because she misunderstood. And
Yeah,
she,
I know. She can talk. So how's that like Hitler again?
Because I misunderstood.
Oh, okay. So you're going to say that I'm not like Hitler then, and that's like the opposite of
It sounded
Hitler-esque
too
thought.
extreme to me.
To want to replace the domestic population of your nation, that sounds extreme.
Yes.
Why is that extreme?
Wait, did you want to come in?
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like the word replace makes it
Replenish
sound
is a better word.
strong. It makes it sound like you're like, maybe that's where the disconnect is.
Well, I think you're saying replace because we will all be gone one day.
I
But
know what
replace-
he's saying. I was just saying.
No, I'm saying for her sake. Like I'm
Snake
saying.
sheds its skin.
Okay.
replace. I think maybe it just sounded.
Andrew,
like
are you a
saying
national socialist? Is I think what she's asking.
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, but that's what you're doing. If you have a child, you're replacing yourself, right? You're
that's a
passing your
natural
genes
cycle.
on. You're replacing yourself. That's the point of it.
Well, let
You're
it be
replicating your
natural.
genes. You're replicating your genes.
Yeah, let it be natural. Why are you trying to raise... What is
Because
it
if
that-
you hit under X amount of threshold and your population diminishes too much, your people go bye-bye.
But
Who
why does it have to be
cares?
on expense
Who cares?
of other
we are
people?
I don't understand our human obsession with like thinking we're gonna be here forever. Species die all the time. If this planet blows up, we would be gone. If an asteroid,
No, keep going, keep going. You're cooking.
You guys are looking at me
No,
like
you're
I'm
cooking.
crazy.
You're cooking. Keep going.
We have this weird obsession with thinking that we're gonna be here forever, like preserving. I'm all for like not littering, preserving the earth, but we think we're just so above every other species that we're just supposed to be here forever, and we just got.
I mean, the
bro,
eventual-
eventually everything comes to an end. Just like I'm gonna die, we're all
Are you
gonna
talking
die.
about the heat death of the universe in like trillions of years? Is that? Or is
No,
it
I'm
billions
just
or
talking
trillions? That
about
could
in
be.
general, like how the dinosaurs were wiped out by a huge
But let's
flaring
assume
ball
for a
of fire.
second-
But I'm just saying,
The
we have a
aliens
general
could take us.
obsession
Yeah, okay, I get
with
it.
like
I get what you're
thinking
saying.
that we're entitled
We should talk
to
about
be
aliens.
here forever.
But I
Pretty
gotta
soon,
know. I
I
gotta
think.
know this. Assume that you could see that the outcome, based on policies that you had, would lead to that way faster. Would you want to avoid that as
Wait.
the outcome?
I'm sorry. What do you mean the outcome?
So, like, just assume that the outcome is if you do X, 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 it leads to the human race becoming extinct. Okay. If you could then not do those things, and that avoids that outcome, don't you think we should do that?
One
Well, why
day
are the humans so
we are
important?
going to be extinct.
Why- wait,
One
why
day
are-
we're gonna be.
Yeah,
gone.
I get it.
That's the cycle,
so
right?
first
Like
of all, no, I
biology.
don't even concede that that's true. But even if I were to just say, you're right, one day human beings are just all going to be gone. If you could
like
avoid
an asteroid.
that, if you had a way to avoid that,
I
would
don't
you?
think
What's the benefit of not avoiding it?
Yeah, like who cares if we're all if we're all gone?
Well,
at
I mean,
this
don't
table,
you
what
do
would it
you
matter
do like
me?
to exist, right?
Okay,
Honestly, no.
wait. I feel like you're
Like,
looking at
I
it.
wanted to die most of my life. My last suicide
Well,
attempt was
let's
in
not.
2020.
Let's not
Okay.
get into that.
I think you're looking at it in too dichotomous of a way. Like, I could argue that the proclivities of different sexual orientations and half of girls not wanting to get married, some wanting to get married, some wanting to have kids can actually cancel out the chance of overpopulation. So I think you're looking at too much
Yeah,
like, oh,
but-
if we encourage promiscuity
it-
and lack of marriage,
yeah,
our
but-
population's going to die out, but we could be
Yeah,
mitigating
so let's
overpopulation.
like grant all of this. How does any of that answer to my question, which I asked her, which is to say this, and I'll say it to you too. If you could change the outcome and save the human species in this scenario by simply changing around policies or improving the way that human beings act, wouldn't you try to do that?
Policies as in maybe legally obligating people to perform in a different way for like the outcome of
Sure.
human civilization. Not necessarily.
Like, what would be an example of you not doing that?
So let's say you have a civilization of 5 people, and I don't think it'd be ethical necessarily to force those women to get pregnant if they don't want to by forcing the men to essay those women in order to keep your population going, right? Is that a fair example?
Okay, so let's assume then that you would only have to do that for whatever reason inside this hypothetical for a little while.
Yeah, I'm not a utilitarian in that way, so I would across the board say that that's wrong. Even if it prolongs the human species, I don't think women should be forced to give children.
Even if
they
it would
don't
only
want
be
to.
for a short amount of time.
100%.
Right. So then the human species goes extinct.
Yes.
And so under that, is there any other parameters that you would look at?
It's a very hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, I mean it is, but
Yeah.
it's
But that was
it's all
kind of the
designed.
point.
It's all designed to test the logic, and at
Yeah.
least the logic's consistent. So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to figure out is which policies and obligations and duties would you be willing to switch around in order to make sure that the human species didn't go extinct. So like, let me give you a counter example of one. So I'll concede on the SA one and just say, okay, fine, for the sake of argument, we'll let this one go.
Not for the sake of argument. What would you actually say?
Right. Well, I would say that you have a greater obligation
To essay the women.
if it meant,
I said essay. I saved myself.
Yeah.
He said if it meant.
If the opposition would mean global extinction, right, then I think that almost all people who were either deontologists or utilitarians or any form of ethics would probably say, look, that's not the outcome we want, right? It's like it's almost a horrible verbal bullet to bite, but not really, because the alternative is you're like extinction, and I think that's a worse bullet to bite.
Why?
Ultimately? Well, because then you have...
I think the religion is maybe a point of tension.
Yeah,
here.
because then you have no way to produce any of the values that you're talking about producing to begin with. So it doesn't matter what your ethical system is, there's nobody around to have an ethical system.
Well,
So-
I think.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, I mean, ultimately, the result of, I think most people would rather exist than not exist, even if to exist meant that the life would be slightly worse or worse. I still think that they would prefer to do so.
And if they didn't, if those 3 women on this island said, I would rather the meteor hit us or I'd rather we die out than
yeah,
these
but
men
the
essay
question
me.
isn't their preferences. The question would be the preferences of everybody in front of that. So if the
future
human,
people.
if the whole human race is going to die. So
So the women would be morally obligated to let the men essay them for their future descendants to live on.
well, how would they be essaying them if they felt a moral obligation? They would just let them, right? So that wouldn't be essay at that point.
Okay, then the
I'm
women
only
don't
trying to
feel it, the men
respond.
feel it.
I'm only trying to respond to the specifics of your hypothetical
Yeah.
and engage with the specifics of it. But the consequence for both are bad. We would just say the consequence of both are not consequences we want
Right,
to
and I
see.
think mine is
but
kind
what
of-
if?
yeah.
But so let me ask you a different one. What if you had to just restrict LGBTQ people from being LGBTQ, and then that would save the species? Would you do it then?
Nope.
Nope, you still wouldn't do it?
No.
All right, so
But
then
we have totally
so
different
then
end goals.
Okay,
For you,
okay, so wait a
you're
second,
placing-
hang
you're
on.
placing
Let me finish.
sustaining the
I'm almost done. I'm almost,
like banning it, making it illegal.
yeah, I'm almost
criminalizing it.
done. I'm almost done.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
10
They'd
years ago.
still do it.
It wasn't criminalized.
Right. So you would let the entirety of humanity go extinct to make sure that a form of vice or degeneracy, or in this case, things you don't consider that to be, but just sexual proclivities were allowed to be. You'd let the whole species go extinct rather than restrict that.
Yes.
Why? What is the basis for that?
Because I think a lot of natural proclivities align with what's good for people. So I think
Is it good for people for the species to cease to exist?
Yeah,
wouldn't matter
there's
if
no
they're not
people.
here.
I think it's morally neutral. Yeah.
It's morally neutral if nobody
It's
exists.
morally neutral for mankind to.
Yeah, because
Yeah, it's not-
like,
we are-
if no
it's
one
not.
exists, no one exists. Like who?
Well, then why
who's here to
shouldn't
care?
so then
you're
why
saying it's
shouldn't
morally
everybody
Brian.
just
Wait,
so
wait,
it's
not
morally
exist?
wrong.
Wait, hold on.
Brian.
I've been asking
So
myself
it's
that.
morally
for
want
wrong.
everyone-
Right.
Hold on, guys, stop. Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
The consequence of what you're saying is then why doesn't everybody just non-exist themselves?
Well, that
No,
I
it's
mean, that's
not.
what I usually tell my friends. I'm like, well, you either gotta live or you're gonna kill yourself. Like, so.
Well,
pick,
don't. You
pick your
can't use
poison.
that, but just say
That's not the same example.
non-existence.
Yes,
Well, just say non-existence.
non-existence.
So,
okay.
but think about this. You don't actually care about the consequence of that. So if everybody did do that, you just don't care.
yes.
Right.
I think the lack of
And you think that that's a superior moral position.
I
Wait,
don't
did you
think
say-
either are superior. I think some people, I think instinctually what you were saying, yes, most people have the instinct to like want to live. And I think this is funny because I literally asked someone the other day, like, oh, if you were in a zombie attack, like, what would you do? And they're like,
We'll get right into the zombies. We'll get into zombies, then the aliens. We're going to come to the aliens in a sec.
So 3 men
Thank you,
and
Bone
3
Man.
women on an island to save the human race becomes a forced breeder program. BC equals no moral obligation to save, or Maslow's hierarchy, self-actualize as a mother. What else is on island?
Wait, what?
I'm not fully understanding.
So he's
like, I don't
saying-
think anyone got that, Bone Man.
He's saying the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think, right?
But how does that apply?
But what is his
Yeah.
question?
Well, he's saying that within the hierarchy of needs, we need people. So once we have that, then we'll have
need
all
people if there are
the
people around.
shelter, and we'll have all the this, we'll have all the that. But we would need people to get all of that. I think that's what he's getting at.
Okay.
I'm not making his argument. I'm just saying I think that's what he's getting at.
Yes.
I think you're talking about zombies. We can talk
Okay,
about
so
zombies.
basically what I was
Let's
saying
talk about
was, I
zombies.
asked him, I was like,
aliens.
what would you do if we had a zombie apocalypse, hypothetical, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I'm thinking go find shelter, go drive out. I'm like thinking, right, in the way I'm going to survive. And he goes, I would just unalive myself. And I was like,
What?
I didn't realize that was an option.
Some
that
people
you
don't
could
want to
just-
be tasked
No.
with like the.
Wait, we talked about this last show,
Yeah.
didn't we? The zombie question?
Yeah, that was boring.
I think you said you'd unalive yourself, too. I
Okay.
think you said you'd...
But those are two
Why-
different.
But so my point was, you're right. Most people
Wait,
would
who?
have.
Nick? Oh, yeah, try not to slam the table.
Most people would have the instinct to want to live.
Those are two different things, not unaliving yourself and not replenishing your race. So I don't know why we're conflating the two.
We're not talking about replenishing.
bring up the zombie thing.
replenishing your
I-
race. We're talking about humanity in general.
Yeah, but you're conflating having births to unaliving yourself, and those are completely different things.
Yeah, but that's because the conversation graduated between the two.
Okay.
So
It just
I'm
felt like
not
you were
I'm not
applying that to
disputing
that.
with you that in this case those are two different topics, but it evolved that way between us talking about the one to the other.
That was a heated moment on the Whatever podcast.
What was the zombie talk?
No, not the zombie talk.
Yeah, that was pretty dull.
On the previous episode or
No,
this
sorry.
episode?
No, you can talk
Okay.
about zombies if you want.
So but you think that that's preferable? Like you wouldn't even try?
See, my first instinct as a human was to try.
gotta try.
My instinct
Gotta
wasn't
try.
to give up and
Gotta survive.
whatever. But then I realized I'm like, if in the theory we're having a whole apocalypse here, and why, if a meteor's coming down, why do I feel the need to get pregnant? Let's just.
What?
If you had like a,
I'm sending an asteroid too, by the way. Go ahead, Andrew.
yeah, if you had like a 15-year-old cousin that you really loved, and he
Okay.
came to you and was like,
I have 6 godchildren.
yeah, okay, 15-year-old little cousin, and he said, I'm going to unalive myself. Would you try to talk him out of it?
Yes,
Why?
to an extent.
Why?
I think when you're that young, you need more context.
Uh-huh.
But I think if you get to an age where you're 30 and you're it's
Well, forget
still not
30. What about
working,
17?
still not developed.
18?
We're developed more around 24, 25.
You'd have to wait till someone's 25 before you'd allow them to do that.
I mean,
Do they have to wait till they're 25 to get married or have sex?
No.
No, but this much bigger decision, right? You think that these?
Yo, Bone Man 538, thanks for the gifted 50 memberships. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah. So you think that they're fully capable of figuring out who they want to have sex with, getting married, probably going off and joining the military, whatever they want to do, but they can't
No.
make this decision.
Oh, I don't think that even at 18 they should be the military.
What about sex? Can they have sex at 18? Is that fine with you?
I think so, depending how much the age difference is with the other person.
Okay, they're same age.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't care, right? But if the same 18-year-old came to you and said that they wanted to make this other decision, you think that they're enough of an adult to make this potentially life-changing decision, but not this other potentially life-changing decision?
What? So in turn, the life-changing decision would be to procreate.
Yeah.
I guess in one scenario it feels like it's their choice, and the other scenario it feels like it's being forced.
No, it's both their choice.
upon them.
No. In this particular case, it's like they choose to have a baby at 18,
Yeah.
or they choose to unalive themselves at 18.
Yeah.
Both massive, life-changing, forever choices, right? And you think the one is okay,
I don't
but
know.
not the other.
Okay, well, before when they were just having sex, that was one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going bringing a baby in it, no, I don't think you should bring a baby in at 18 either.
Hold on just a sec.
Her instinct
Thank you, man.
was to
Thank you,
tell
thank
her
you.
friends to off themselves so that she can plausibly escape the zombies.
No.
Smart move. She is obviously the first dead.
Oh, no.
Explain.
Okay. Here, let me move the conversation
I
on.
wish I was that
Let me move
clever.
the conversation on a little bit. So we have a couple chats here. I'm going to get these. We have, it's coming up in just a sec. Fortescue, thank you, man. Never thought I'd come across someone with just the right amount of brain cells to be a brick. Ladies and gentlemen, we found her. I think he's talking about Kiki over there and with the blue hair. All right, thank you, man. Appreciate it. We have Grid 1 Motorsports here coming up in just a sec. Awesome. I walk into Dollar General Greta being purposefully obtuse and Destiny's Child arguing just to argue, going to be fun. Sorry, I missed the first bit. Hey, Grid 1, thank you, man. Welcome to the stream. And then we have Peacecraft here. Let's not linger too long on this, but he's got a question here. Andrew, ask Farha where rights come from. She cannot attack you on deontology while also holding rights are social. 6 men outvoted women, 3 women in society. This is what democracy looks like. I think this is, you guys have had a previous conversation about this. Maybe let's not linger too long, but if you guys want to.
Well, it's going to take a few minutes of lingering if we get into it.
Do you think more than 10 minutes?
I think we can probably get it done
With
in 10
less
minutes.
than 10 minutes? Okay.
We'll
if you
try
guys
to
wanna-
get it done in 10 minutes.
All right.
So he's asking the first fundamental question, which is where do rights come from?
Okay, I think we've gotten into this a little
Yeah.
bit in terms of women's suffrage.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait. Should we, is that TOS?
No.
Women's suffrage?
No, women's suffrage
No,
is
no,
not
no, like
TOS.
talking about.
We're not going to say repeal the. We're not
Okay,
going to
sure,
get into
sure.
any of that.
Go ahead.
I do agree with you that rights are ultimately decided by the culture at large and who decides to give it. Obviously, we had a point of contention about whether that means that women's rights are ultimately laughable since men are the stronger gender
The
and could
enforcement,
ultimately overpower them and stuff like that. I'll still disagree with that. I don't know if that necessarily applies to the hypothetical we were just engaging with.
Well,
we weren't
no,
really talking about
he's-
rights.
And I'm happy to get back to that too. But what he's saying is there's no real way for you to attack the worldview if you think that rights are just kind of socially constructed, which I would agree with you, they are. They're socially constructed entitlements that have to be limited by duties and obligations.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they are. You would agree with me that that's basically what they are. Like you
Yes.
can't have yeah, okay. So if the society comes through this through its deontological worldview or like universal ethics, you don't really have anything to argue. And if they come through it through utilitarian means, you don't really have anything to argue. That's what his point is. That's what I think he's trying to say. So then if you bring that chat back up, I'll read the other part and see if I can figure out exactly what he's after here.
Ask Farha where rights come from. She cannot attack you on deontology while also holding rights are social. 6 men outvoted women, 3 women in society. This is what democracy looks like?
Right. So he's saying, so if we're back on the island and we have a democracy and 6 men, right, are able to outvote the women are like, I don't want to be SA'd. And the 6 men are like, but we want to SA you.
Yeah, they could do it. I think we were more discussing what they ought to do.
But they're saying it's morally wrong for them to do it.
Is there a different example we can use besides the essay?
But that's what he's pointing to in his
Oh, okay.
question. That's
Is
the only
there
reason
like
I brought it up.
A different,
Yeah.
maybe not essay, but like it could be like.
Okay, so maybe we'll just
Chick-fil-A.
use some kind of.
There's like one
the thing.
restaurant
We'll just
on
call
the
it the
island
thing.
that's
Do
Chick-fil-A.
the thing.
Or is it like pizza? Maybe there's
Yeah,
pizza.
so
on
do the
that. I
thing.
don't
We'll
know.
do the thing.
I personally would prefer if it was
Yeah,
a
and you
Chick-fil-A.
were personally asking me whether I think that's right to do, not whether I think that's congruent with some other substructure of rights
Well,
and ethics,
yeah.
right?
Well, what I'm asking you is
You were saying,
that
would it be good for those politicians
well,
to
that
create those
holds-
policies?
well,
and I said, well,
yeah.
what do you think of this micro example? And then you kind of conceded, okay, that's a bit unethical to whatever ethical framework you
it's
have.
not. I would say it's not preferable, but if I had to, I would do it. So I would still say that that's better than the alternative.
Better than alternative, if that was different than the tone you had, which brought up the example, which is that you think we should be doing this, and that would be ultimately the best thing to do, which is create policies that create a situation in which
to
the
promote.
human race is sustained. And that's a completely different tone than saying, that'd be a bit preferable.
No. You're conflating two different things. So the first is into the hypothetical of the island. Okay, that's the one where I would say This is not something I would like, but it's preferable to the
Okay, so
alternative.
I think this is where
it a
the question.
tropical island, or is it like an island
So
Stop.
that's
like
so that's
near Great Britain and it's kind of
Okay, now you're
cloudy?
obstructing.
Okay,
So my point was, I see that as a direct
The levity.
microcosm of the type of society you're trying to create, in which you're saying maybe we should have policies
Yeah,
on
but that
LGBT,
doesn't mean anything.
on promiscuity. No.
that's not even an argument. You can't
Wait, what
be
do you mean?
like-
I haven't even finished.
Well, because you said you started this with
Yeah.
a total strength. That this thing here that you answered to, I see as a microcosm to a society you're advocating for. That doesn't follow. So you have to start like this instead. You can agree with me and say, okay, you're right. Your alternative to this, I don't find that preferable. You find it preferable, whatever, right? But there's no microcosm to that. And I would make or promote in society that people got married young so that they had more children in society. How would those be a microcosm?
Because I saw the summary of your argument as this, that the ultimate good should be prolonging the human race, and politicians should be creating policies which create that situation in which the human race is being replenished at a high rate, if that includes suppressing female promiscuity, suppressing homosexuality. So then I said, if that's the ultimate goal, let's change up the structure of the society a little bit. We're on an island where no women want to have sex.
Okay, so
no women want to reproduce
it.
and birth children. Now, do you think it's congruent?
Yeah. Well, no, it's still not,
Why?
but it's closer.
Can you explain why?
I'm trying to. It's closer, right? But your problem is this, is that what is your actual argument here against me having the value first of humanity over LGBTQ? So if humanity could not exist with LGBTQ, what you have stated is that then it should die out.
I stated that I'm prioritizing autonomy over a utilitarian conception of prolonging the human
Right,
race.
but what could you think of? I can't actually think of a single example that I would say. Like, for instance, if women couldn't in society get like gangbanged by 5 dudes, okay? That's still just a like sexual activity. Would you prefer that society be wiped out completely or that women be allowed to do that?
Can you rephrase? Wait, you're saying either we criminalize... Can
Yeah,
say
if we
this
were
word,
to
Brian?
criminalize, you can no longer get gangbanged by 5 guys.
Why are the examples always related to like? Is there any examples?
Is this not a show about sex?
Yeah,
I don't
so
understand.
anyway,
Why are you a prude
yeah,
all
hang
of a
on.
sudden
This is
for
almost done.
TOS?
It's almost
Okay,
done.
okay,
It's almost
okay,
done.
okay.
Okay, so if it is 5 dudes, though, if you criminalize that, would the preference be that humanity goes extinct rather than criminalizing that women cannot get gangbanged by 5 dudes?
If getting gangbanged leads to people getting wiped out.
Yeah.
I think if you have no other objection to the gangbang other than it wipes people out,
Fuck is this guy? Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
if you could draw like a line between how this is affecting other things, like when we have laws on things in terms of health and stuff like that, then I think that's a bit different. Like I said, I'm going to be a moral absolutist about this. I do prioritize autonomy over prolonging the human race. I think if that's what fulfills people and it's not hurting other people in any other type of metric, I'm going to prioritize that.
So this would be the case for all forms of sexuality or autonomy that you can possibly
you
think
chose
of as
something
that
that's gonna
if
have a
that-
visceral reaction to
Yeah,
people,
if that
yeah.
style. But the point is, right, is that if these policies or these things led to the extinction of humanity, you don't actually
Okay, what about
care
this?
because it's more important inside of your worldview for the hedonism right now.
No,